Welcome to the greatest adventure of your life. Yes, your life. Anyone going through a challenge right now? Well, you're probably on that adventure already, playing out a pattern you might not know you're in. Now, as an artist, I love patterns, but I'm here to show you a pattern not for crafts, but for turning that challenge into real transformation. A pattern that leads you on an adventure to another world with a treasure chest of superpowers. This pattern makes you a hero. And as a kid, didn't you always want to be a hero? We couldn't wait to play make-believe. We wanted to leave home, fight monsters, and come back in time for dinner. Well, you and I, we can still make a hero's adventure out of that challenge. And you're in good company. But don't take my word, it's in the pattern. So, what is a hero's journey and why is this a pattern? In his book, A Hero with 1,000 Faces, Joseph Campbell explained it through mythology. But just in case, let's use a story we all know. A hero starts in the ordinary world until a challenge turns their world upside down, and suddenly they're snatched from their everyday lives and called to a special realm. This new world is scary, and the hero might refuse its call, but then there would be no story to tell. Sometimes it takes a special mentor to give us the courage we need for the long road ahead. When the hero finally accepts the call, they enter this special realm through the first threshold. In this supernatural realm, there are tasks and trials to face, and temptations. We encounter demons, and everything we know is tested. But we also meet more friends and mentors to help us through. At the scariest point in this special realm, the hero must survive a severe challenge. But that reveals revelations and inner strength. The revelation is when the hero decides to keep going, to embrace the pattern to his ultimate destiny. That's when they achieve their reward, which reveals self-discovery and a personal catharsis. Then the hero has to begin his journey back to the ordinary world, which isn't such an easy task when you've worked so hard to survive in darkness. But more on that later. Then the hero brings this knowledge back to the world and helps everyone around him with everything he's learned. There's no place like home because a hero actually changes the world. And that's the journey that Dorothy took. It's also the pattern followed by another feisty female, Persephone, who was snatched from her everyday life on Earth by Hades, taken to the underworld to be his queen, was rescued by Mom, but who chose in the end to live in both of these worlds, which is how we ended up with the 4 seasons. That was Persephone's gift from her journey. Okay, so what does this mean for you? For me? Does this pattern apply to us mortals in our everyday lives? You bet it does. But we don't often call it a hero's journey. We call it a challenge. We call it a rough day. We sometimes even call it a trauma. We might not feel like heroes at all. We might even call ourselves victims. But if we see the pattern, then we can cast ourselves as the hero, and even trauma can be an opportunity to play. In that spirit, we move into a pattern that moves and grows into the spirit of adventure, into the spirit of being a hero. As heroes, we create our own transformation, like a snake shedding its skin. We heal ourselves. And heroes get to write the story that changes the world. Here's how it happened for me. My world, my home, was an ordinary house with friends and family and my dreams of being on Broadway. I was acting in musicals, playing heroes that were already written, getting ready for college, and studying with a voice coach in New York. But not forever. Shrimp and broccoli with black bean sauce. This was my portal to the realm of the hero. This was the last scene from my ordinary world because it was the last thing I remember before the lesson where I was sexually abused by my voice coach. I froze with fear, petrified to face the hurt and anger I felt, refusing the call of my tears and grief until that stress reached my body. On April 25th, 2005, the night my stomach literally exploded from a blood clot, leaving me in a coma for months, while the rest of my friends graduated high school. The call to adventure had started without me. But when I woke up, I was forced to answer that call. I had to deal with a whole new reality in the supernatural realm of the surgical ICU. The challenge was to survive from day to day in total uncertainty, unable to eat or drink anything by mouth, sustained solely on nutritional IVs, until doctors could create a makeshift digestive system for me, 6 entire years later. And that was just the physical healing. The emotional part was up to me. Much harder than melting a wicked witch. Temptations? Well, the desire to eat and drink, of course. I created this to show how I felt about those challenges. One bite would have killed me on the spot. And yeah, the temptation to give up, to lose hope. And once I could finally eat again, the temptation to never want to face my own pain and anger and memories that I had pushed away for so long in order to survive. And yes, the temptation to never want to return to the ordinary world because I was so used to fighting my hero's battles in the darkness that I didn't know how to do anything else, like be happy. Refusal of the call. Or as a doctor once told my parents, I don't think she's really bought into this life thing yet. He was right. So I closed myself off to the call, to feeling anything, so I'd never be hurt again. Maybe darkness was a good enough home. After all, I was surviving. But a hero's journey is not a mission to survive. It's a call to thrive. And that's when I met a very special mentor. And here she is. Okay, so I made her up. But if I was going to be a hero, I wanted to make believe and play dress up and create my own mentors. If I had to heal from trauma, I wanted to play dress up and get a little creative. So if I was going to kind of do this hero's journey thing, I needed the fierceness of a tiger and the determination to flourish like a flower, like a lily. That's it. Tiger Lily the warrior. I ordered 500 business cards that said Tiger Lily, professional warrior, and hero, just for myself. This way it was official. Tiger Lily meant business, ready for the call to adventure. And as Tiger Lily, I starred in 3 musicals while still hooked up to IVs and not even being able to consume a single ice cube. I leaped across the stage as a cat, a year after not even being able to sit up in bed on my own. I went back to college. I tried marriage and fought through the heartbreak of a divorce. I toured a one-woman musical about my life for 5 years to help other people share their own story. I'm still covered in bags and medical tape, but it hasn't stopped me from tap dancing through my daily grocery shopping trips because after almost 30 surgeries, I am now able to eat and drink again, with a stomach created for me by some of my own allies. Coming out of my coma, one of the first things I said was, I want to go home. And almost a decade later, I did return home. But it and I were never the same. Because here's one of the last steps of the hero's journey. You don't just return to the ordinary world you knew before, but you don't just stay in the darkness forever fighting demons either. The good part is you get the best of both. You get to take this world of adventure you battled in and bring it back home and help everyone around you with what you've learned. It's called mastery of the two worlds. But why should we really go on this journey just to add darkness to our world? Why, if just like Dorothy, we know we can't really get back to the home we knew? Why not just save the adventure stories for the books? Because we'll all encounter some kind of challenge in our lives. Darkness is inevitable. But if we see the pattern, then the journey can be exciting and child's play. And once you master these two worlds, you get to the very final step. Freedom to live. Once Tiger Lily earned her spot as a hero, she could become a mentor and continue the pattern too. And there's a Tiger Lily in all of us dying to come out with that first call to adventure. So now I want to share the treasure chest that she earned from her journey with 4 gifts to help you on yours. So number 1 is stories. When I was in the hospital, my mom would read me every inspirational autobiography she could find. I could not stand them. Why would I care about these great comeback stories when I couldn't even breathe on my own? These stories felt like a smack in the face. But as I got better, I started to recall those stories in different ways. I thought, maybe that could be me. I could visualize myself in their shoes, and now they were realistic role models and feasible goals. So read and listen to as many stories as you can, even if you feel like you can't relate to them now. Novels, fairy tales, Star Wars movies. Build up your story inventory, because when you eventually do get to that step in the hero's journey, you'll start to resource those stories, and soon they'll become the mentors that help lead you to the next step. Number 2 is creativity. It was so difficult for me to even speak the words. I was sexually abused. But on a hero's journey, we need to express how we feel about our challenges in order to transform them, even though it can take years for us to try to verbalize a challenge we face. That's why there are other things to do. I use the magic of these guys, my magic superhero senses, and I scribbled, I painted, I danced, I sang out my fear, my grief, any negative emotions I was scared to face. And creativity became my hero's bow and arrow that turned these scary feelings into a world of imagination and made it a really colorful trip. Number 3 is hope. On a hero's journey, hope is the fuel that gets you through each step of the pattern. But sometimes hope is hard to find. When doctors discharged me from the hospital, they gave me no hope of when or if I'd ever be able to eat and drink again. So I literally made my own hope. I made big countdowns on my wall. 7 days till I can eat again, 6 days, 5 days, all the way to 0. And then when it got to 0, I started over again for 6 years. There's actually a name for this in fairy tales: willing suspension of disbelief. Dorothy had doubts, but she never gave up hope that one day she could get back to Auntie Em. An occupational therapist once told me they call it therapeutic lying. And sometimes hope is just a lie, but it's your best weapon. So please, don't wait for hope to dawn on you in this inspirational beam of light. A hero has to create his own hope. Number 4 is gratitude. This is Tiger Lily's super secret treasure map. Actually, it's a list I made after my 27th surgery. I made myself write one thing I was grateful for every letter of the alphabet. I made these lists every day for the 4 months I was in the hospital. These lists started to paint a new picture for me of what really mattered in my life. Now I was remembering what I stood for, who I was, what my values were. Your values are your compass that steer you where you need to go next on your hero's journey. But gratitude not only steers you, it reminds you what you're fighting for. Think about all the amazing gifts and surprises you could encounter in this special realm. If Dorothy had just kept crying over her house in the air, she would have never met the friends that helped transform her journey to Oz. So use gratitude to be where you are in the pattern. Use creativity to embrace each step of the journey. Use hope to get you through each step of the journey. And use stories to reassure you that you're on the right track. With these 4 gifts, I did make it home, a changed hero. Now I was proud to be a role model for myself, a role model for others, just like the ones in my mom's pile of inspirational books. And just like Persephone's, whose journey brought the 4 seasons to the world. Seasons show us the beauty of change. And our journeys can too. But remember, like Persephone's, like Dorothy, like me, you may find yourself juggling those 2 worlds, and it can feel like madness. Others may not get it. After I was all healed physically, a lot of people didn't understand why it was taking so long to repair emotionally. I felt like I was going mad. But that madness is the inner fire that we get from that journey. And that inner fire is really our hero's warrior gift. That's how we find the beauty in trauma, the beauty in healing, the beauty in being on the hero's journey. That is our life. You'll probably take this journey more than once. But if you see the pattern, accept the call, and remember your treasure chest, you'll turn your life into the best adventure story you ever read. Thank you.